All right, so we're diving into something pretty interesting today.
Okay.
It's this article called Why Learning to Code Won't Solve All Your Career Problems.
Mhm.
And it's from a website that helps people get ready for coding interviews.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so, they really see all sides of this whole trying to break into tech thing, right?
Right.
Like the good, the bad, and the stuff nobody ever tells you, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
I bet.
So if you're listening to this, you're probably thinking about learning to
Hmm.
code. Maybe you want to switch careers or just level up your skills.
Makes sense.
And there's all this hype around coding, making it seem like this golden ticket, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's
Well,
high salaries, job security, and the chance to build cool things.
definitely.
It's tempting.
Yeah, it is.
But we're going to get real here today,
Okay.
based on what this article actually says.
I'm ready.
Okay, so the interesting thing is the article doesn't actually say those good things are lies.
Oh,
It starts by talking about all the benefits.
really?
Like, yeah, the high salaries, job security, because let's face it, everything is going digital.
True.
And the potential to be creative and flexible, which people love about tech jobs.
Yeah, those perks are definitely real.
Right.
But it's not the whole picture.
Exactly.
There's more to it.
And that's where things get interesting.
Yeah.
So then they hit you with this stat. Almost 40% of developers have less than 5 years of experience.
Wow.
That's a lot of competition for entry-level jobs.
Right. Even if you do become a great coder.
Yeah, you could be amazing, but still have a tough time just getting your foot in the door.
Yeah, it's kind of like what the article says about these platforms like Algo Academy.
What do they say?
Well, they're great for the basics.
Right.
It's like learning your ABCs for coding.
Okay.
But you wouldn't expect to write a novel just knowing the alphabet, right?
Yeah.
Real-world coding is about putting all those basic pieces together into big, complex projects.
I see.
And that takes a whole other set of skills.
So what are we talking about here?
Things like version control systems. So that's how teams keep track of changes to the code over time.
Gotcha.
And then there's agile development. It's
Yes.
like a whole way of working together on big projects.
So it's not just you coding by yourself.
No, not at all.
Interesting.
And then there's debugging.
Finding and fixing errors?
Yeah, but massive amounts of code.
Oh, wow.
And they talk about writing clean code.
Clean code?
Yeah, making it readable so other people can actually understand it.
Ah, that makes sense.
And then understanding software architecture, how it all fits together.
Those are some pretty advanced concepts.
Yeah, and that's what trips up a lot of beginners.
Really?
I mean, they're crucial for real-world projects, but a lot of boot camps and online courses don't teach that stuff in depth.
So you learn the basics, but not how to actually apply them.
Exactly.
And then on top of all that technical stuff, there's another layer the article talks about.
Oh,
Soft
right.
skills.
The soft skills in tech.
Yeah, it seems kind of counterintuitive, right?
It does.
But they're talking about things like communication, teamwork, being able to explain your ideas clearly,
Oh, okay.
managing your time, working well with others, all that stuff.
I guess
Yeah.
that makes sense when you think about it.
Right.
Even if you're a brilliant coder, if you can't explain your solutions or work with a team,
You're not going to get very far.
exactly. And these aren't skills you just pick up later.
You need them from day one.
Especially now with how fast everything changes in tech.
Speaking of fast-paced,
Yeah?
the article uses this example that I think a lot of people can relate to.
Okay, what is it?
Remember jQuery?
Yeah.
It was like the JavaScript framework for a while.
Right.
Then Angular came along, and now it's all about React.
Yeah, it's crazy how quickly things change.
It's like this constant churn of new technologies.
It can be overwhelming for sure.
And that's why the article stresses the importance of being a dedicated lifelong learner.
Oh, absolutely.
Like imagine spending years mastering jQuery,
Yeah.
only to have it become practically obsolete. That's the reality in a lot of areas of tech.
You got to be passionate about constantly learning or it'll burn you out.
For sure. And let's not forget about the day-to-day reality of coding jobs.
Right. It's not always glamorous.
Yeah, it's not all Silicon Valley and building the next big app.
A lot of the time you're debugging existing code,
Oh, yeah.
maintaining older systems that are clunky but important,
Makes sense.
going to meetings and writing documentation that nobody wants to read.
But everybody needs.
Exactly.
It's not always exciting.
It's important to have realistic expectations going in.
I think that's a great point to end this part on.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so we've talked about how coding is just one part of the whole picture.
Right. It's not the only thing you need.
Exactly. And something that really stood out to me in this article was how much they emphasize domain expertise.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
Like, it's not just about knowing how to code.
It's about knowing what you're coding for.
Yes, exactly.
That's like the difference between just writing code and actually building something valuable.
I see what you mean.
Like to give this example of a developer working on financial software.
Okay.
They could be amazing at coding,
Right.
but if they don't understand basic accounting or how financial markets work,
They're going to miss the mark.
exactly. Their code might be perfect, but it won't actually solve the real-world problem.
And that's why they say business acumen is so important for tech people.
Yeah, you got to be able to connect the dots between the code and the actual impact it's going to have.
It's like you can build a beautiful website,
Right.
but if you don't understand the business goals behind it,
Who the audience is, what problem it's solving.
it might not be effective.
It's like speaking different languages.
And the article goes even beyond just business knowledge.
Oh, really?
They talk about how skills like project management are basically algorithms in disguise.
Algorithms.
Yeah, think about it.
Right.
Breaking down a big project into smaller tasks.
Right.
Figuring out what depends on what, assigning roles based on people's strengths, setting deadlines, tracking progress.
Yeah.
That's all algorithmic thinking.
Yeah, right. Just applied to a different context.
So someone who's good at organizing a team project.
Might already have that knack for logical problem solving that you need in coding.
Interesting.
It's just a matter of using those skills in a new way.
I like that.
And that reminds me, the article also talks about networking and building your personal brand.
Oh, yeah, that's crucial in tech.
Why is that so important in this field specifically?
Well, because tech changes so fast. Connections are everything.
How so?
Networking can open doors to job opportunities.
Oh, yeah.
Mentorship and staying up to date on all the new stuff.
Makes sense. So how do they recommend doing that?
They mentioned going to conferences and meetups,
Okay.
being active in online forums, contributing to open source projects.
Putting yourself out there.
Exactly, and building those relationships.
They also talk about having a strong online presence.
Right.
Like an active GitHub profile to show off your work. A portfolio website that highlights your skills.
Yeah.
And being engaged on LinkedIn.
It's like you have to market yourself in tech.
Just like any other industry.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered technical skills, domain expertise, networking. What else is there?
Well, there's one more thing the article highlights that's super important.
Okay.
Emotional intelligence, or EQ.
EQ tech.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought of that.
It's surprising, right?
Yeah, because people often think of coding as this solitary thing.
Right. Heads down in front of a computer.
But you're saying EQ is crucial even in that environment.
Absolutely, because even in tech, it all comes down to people.
Explain that.
Well, think about it.
Oh, yeah.
Being self-aware, regulating your emotions, staying motivated, having empathy for others,
Right.
and having good social skills.
Okay.
Those are all essential for building teams, collaborating effectively, and leading projects.
So it's not just about the code.
No, it's about how you interact with the people around you.
So you're saying even if someone is a coding genius, if they can't communicate their ideas or work well with others, or handle the stress of a fast-paced tech environment.
Their career might suffer.
Exactly. It all ties back to what the article said about coding being just one tool in your toolbox.
Right.
It's incredibly powerful. It's most effective when you combine it with other skills.
And a deep understanding of the industry you want to work in.
Right.
So what if someone listening is thinking, okay, maybe coding isn't the only thing I should focus on?
That's a great realization to have.
What questions should they be asking themselves then?
Well, I think the first thing is to figure out why you're interested in coding.
What are your motivations?
Exactly. What do you want to achieve?
Are you excited about building things from scratch?
Do you like the problem-solving aspect?
Is it the potential for a high salary?
Or maybe you just want to be part of a fast-paced, innovative industry.
Once you know your why.
You can figure out how coding fits into that.
And remember, it's okay if your path involves more than just writing code.
The article shows how diverse the tech landscape really is.
We've talked about product management, UX, UI, design, technical writing.
Data analysis, project management, sales engineering.
And those are just a few examples.
There are so many more roles out there.
Each with its own mix of technical and non-technical skills.
The key is to find what you're interested in.
What you're good at.
And what the market needs.
And that's where those soft skills we talked about become so crucial.
Being able to communicate, collaborate, adapt to change, manage your time.
Those are the skills that will make you stand out.
No matter what path you choose.
I love how the article encourages a holistic view of your tech career.
Me too. It's
Yeah.
not just about mastering the technical stuff.
It's also about those soft skills, the business context, building a network,
It's about seeing your career as a journey, not a destination,
and realizing that learning never stops.
especially in tech.
So the article ends with this really thought-provoking question.
Oh, what is it?
If your career is a journey, not a destination, where in the tech landscape do you want to explore?
Wow, that's a great question.
It really makes you think.
It's like this invitation to be curious
To be open to new possibilities.
and to embrace the adventure of building a fulfilling career in tech.
That's a really powerful question, isn't it? Like, it makes you think about all the different directions you could go
It does, yeah. It's like you're standing at the edge of this huge map.
with all these unexplored territories.
Exactly, and you get to choose your own adventure.
But before we send you off with just a compass and a dream,
Right, we should probably recap what we've learned from this deep dive.
yeah, what are the main takeaways from why learning to code won't solve all your career problems?
I think the biggest one is that coding isn't everything.
It's not a magic solution.
No, it's more like one important piece of the puzzle.
Exactly. And the article did a great job of highlighting all the other pieces.
Like what?
Well, first, there were the soft skills.
Oh yeah, communication, teamwork, problem-solving, adaptability,
All those things that help you work well with others.
and handle the constant changes in tech.
And then there's that whole idea of domain expertise.
Right, knowing what you're coding for are.
Like that example with the financial software.
If you don't understand accounting principles,
Your code might be technically perfect,
but it won't actually be useful.
and that's where business acumen comes in.
Understanding how businesses work, what their goals are.
It's like learning a whole new language.
And then, of course, there's the fact that tech is constantly evolving.
New languages, frameworks, tools popping up all the time.
It can be a lot to keep up with.
But it also makes it exciting.
You have to be a lifelong learner to really thrive in this field.
I like that analogy of surfing.
Oh, yeah. You have to ride the waves of change.
If you cling to old ways of doing things.
You'll get wiped out.
But if you embrace that learning process.
It becomes an adventure.
And speaking of adventures, we talked about all those alternative tech careers,
For people who might not see themselves as hardcore coders,
like product management, UX UI, design, technical writing, data analysis.
there's a whole world out there beyond just writing code.
So many different paths you can take.
And it's not like you have to choose one and stick with it forever.
You can try different things, experiment, see what you really enjoy.
Exactly. It's all about finding the intersection of your interests, your skills, and what the market needs.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
What's the final message we want to leave our listeners with?
I think it's this. Don't be afraid to challenge the hype.
Coding is a valuable skill.
But it's not the only thing that matters.
Success in tech comes from a combination of things.
Technical skills, soft skills, domain knowledge, a willingness to learn.
And adapt.
So be curious.
Explore.
The tech world is huge and constantly changing.
Don't limit yourself to a single path.
Try new things.
Experiment.
See where your passions and talents lie,
And remember, your career is a journey.
not a destination.
Embrace the ups and downs, the twists and turns.
It's all part of the adventure, so keep learning,
Keep growing.
keep exploring,
And most importantly,
keep creating